You were raised on a farm, more or less, is that right?
I was.
And you were homeschooled.
Homeschooled, not because my parents were religious in their persuasion at all, but because they thought the county schools where I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, were not up to my parents' standards. My mother was incredibly gifted as a teacher, and she figured out early on how to get the process of learning to be something wonderfully exciting. And that's the gift she gave me and my brothers, this excitement about learning new things, which I carry with me to this day.
You did this until the 6th grade?
Yeah.
And then you went to school?
I think my mom was a little tired of teaching all of these 4 boys at that point and figured, okay, the public schools in the city of Stanton are maybe up to better standards. So I started going to public school.
You were a musician as well. You have a band, or you had a band. How did you come to that?
So my dad was trained as a classical violinist, but he and my mom, who met at Yale, she was getting her master's degree, he has his PhD. They went and worked for Eleanor Roosevelt in the depths of the Depression in West Virginia, trying to help coal miners get back on their feet. And my dad fell in love with the traditional music that the coal miners would play, particularly on the fiddle. We didn't have a television, so what did you do after dinner at the farm? Either my dad would read Charles Dickens out loud, or we would get out instruments and play. And if you wanted to be in this family, you better learn how to play something.
So did famous musicians come over your house?
People would drop by. Perhaps the best known, although not at the time, was a particularly sullen 18-year-old who showed up sort of being brought along by a more senior, experienced folk song writer and singer. And the young 18-year-old turned out was having his birthday in our living room. And he sang a few songs, had a terrible voice, had no social skills, and I was quite sure he had no future at all. That, of course, turned out to be Bob Dylan.
Did you ever meet him again?
I did.
Did he remember you?
No, he denies the whole thing. It was quite a bit later, like maybe 10 years ago.